Hey Jen, just sending you this video message today because I've seen your stuff recently and it speaks to me, absolutely. Losing a parent is one of the hardest things that a human can go through. In my line of work, the three hardest things that I've ever seen people go through are the loss of a child, loss of a parent, loss of a spouse, and then anybody or anyone that we've ever loved. So difficult. I have to tell you, I'm a little spoiled doing the work that I do because I'm reminded over and over again how the spirits of our loved ones and our ancestors and our beloved dead, they carry on and they interact with us. I have my own relationship with my own spirits and the way that they interact and overlap with my life. But I am spoiled. I know that. And again, this is an open letter to Jen. I have seen the stuff that you have posted recently on your social media and how this Christmas will be your first Christmas without your father. I still have both my parents, right? The only people that I've ever loved, knock on wood, so far, my grandparents. It's still horrendous, yes. Just nothing to that level of child, spouse, parent, right? And here you are dealing with this Christmas being the first Christmas ever that you have to make it through without your dad, right? So I'm going to just offer whatever advice that I can around that scenario for you because not only are you dealing with one of the hardest things that a human ever has to deal with, you're dealing with the hardest thing a human has to deal with, right? One of the hardest things that a human has to go through. You're going through it right now, which means there's really no right way to do it except the way that you're doing it. What I do know is that the world of spirit and wherever we go and whatever we do when we get there, it very much interacts with our world like a one-way mirror that we would see in a cop show, right? Where we sit on the side of the suspects, pretty oblivious to what's going on the other side. And our spirits, our ancestors, our beloved dead, they sit on the side of the cops, the detectives. They can see us, they can know us to far more of a degree than we can know them. And one of the principles, one of the things that I get about that relationship is this. If we want our dead, our beloved dead, our ancestors, our spirits, to rest in peace, we must live in peace as best we can, right? We can do all that we can do to get through grief as much as we can. And that's our own path to walk, right? But if we want our spirits to rest in peace, we must live in peace. And that's an important piece too. Because, Jen, I do see you going through this grief. And I know that your spirits see you going through this grief. And I know that your spirits don't want you there. I know that your spirits understand you have to be there, but I know they don't want you to stay there forever. And I would just ask that you do your best to sit with grief in a way that it doesn't turn into a badge of honor. Us funny humans in this modern day, we seem to mess grief up in that way. We seem to hold on to grief like it's a badge of honor in the way that if we can hurt hard, right? If we can hold on to this hurt and carry it, then that's a cross that I'm bearing for them. I can show them that I am worthy of their love by carrying this pain. And that's not what they want for us. They want for us to be free of pain. If you want them to rest in peace, you have to live in peace. If you want them to rest in joy, you have to live in joy as best you can. As best you can, as soon as you can get there, right? And I get such a distinct impression that your dad is on the other side of that mirror watching you and just wants to be here, can't be here, but can see your joy and see your suffering, and I know what he wants more of. And while it might not be the easiest thing for you to manage, it'll be a guidepost for you to shoot for, right? That you should try as best you can to shoot for that joy and that love that I know he wants you to feel right now, right? This holiday season, this Christmas, not next Christmas, not Christmas 5 years from now, this Christmas. Do your best to feel joy. Do your best to feel the love that he still has for you. And the other thing that I would recommend, and this is again specific to Jen, but would help anybody, I want you to sit down and have a cup of coffee with your father. Just sit down, have a cup of coffee, and pour your heart out. And while you might not have a radio, right, there to interpret his signal or his radio station, you'll be able to feel him. And I think just sitting down and making that space and having a cup of coffee so you can grieve and honor that man who's still with you, and that you can sit down and have those types of conversations on a regular basis, not just now while you're in a grieving place, but on a regular basis, I think would do you really, really good, right? And part of this advice might be from just the sit down, shut up, stop dealing with family stuff, stop dealing with work stuff, stop dealing with mom, wife stuff, right? Just sit down, have a cup of cocoa, get a minty taste with that. So it could be like a peppermint mocha coffee, it could be something like that. But have a cup of minty cocoa or coffee with your dad. Just sit there for a good 20 minutes, 30 minutes, talk, and then just sit in silence and hear. You'd be amazed at how much you would feel better. And I like to think of it like this: these spirits, right, our beloved dead, our ancestors that are around us, I know that they are constantly dialed into us, right? Think of them constantly being dialed into us with these messages of healing and love and guidance, right? But if we don't take the moment to dial back up to them, it's very hard to receive all of that energy and that information that they're sending us. So I really would recommend Jen and anyone else that has lost a loved one, whether this is your first Christmas without them or your 20th Christmas without them, make space to have a cup of cocoa or a cup of coffee, a cup of juice. Make space to just sit down, invite them in to sit with you and benefit from the ways that they will interact with you, in the way that you will feel them and sense them in ways that would be amazing to you. And they just want to be remembered too, right? They want to interact with you as much as you want to interact with them. So sit down. And this is specific to Jen and anybody else. Talk to him about deer, like deer stories, antlers. I don't know if he was a hunter or anything, but the things that they would have enjoyed in life, they would enjoy in death. And while they have a grander, more broad idea of them, they also want to hear your version of it, right? I can watch something on TV, but I can also hear somebody tell me about it. And I might be more interested in the way that they tell me about it than me watching it myself. So tell your dad some deer stories, Jen. And for anybody else, sit down with your beloved dead, chew the fat with them, and let them know the things that are going on in your world that would touch them and that they'd want to hear from. So this holiday season, just remember, cultivate joy and love as much as you can. And remember that when you feel joy, they feel joy. And when you know love, they know love. And when you know peace, they know peace. Do your best to cultivate that in your world. So you're cultivating it in their world. And it's like the win-win of all win-wins, right? When you're at a place of peace and they're at a place of peace, everybody's at a place of peace, right? That's what the holiday season is here for. So to anyone who's lost anyone this past year or ever, Do your best to know the reason for the season. That's joy, right? Bring that into your heart, bring that into your lives. And your beloved dead and your ancestors, your spirits, they'll be all the better for it. As will you be. So, Merry Christmas to everybody. Happy holidays. Be wonderful in this weird, weird world of ours. For as weird and as strange and as hard as it is to live in, it's still a beautiful, wonderful world out there with lots of love and joy to uncover. So let's get around to that, right? Take care of yourselves out there. And Jen, sit down, have a cup of coffee, tell your dad about some deer, would you? Take care of yourself. Merry Christmas.